Joshi, thank you so much for spoiling the lock-in game
Yeah, what
that
the
was
hell?
happening. What's up with that, huh?
What if I was gonna watch it later?
Right?
You can still watch it, but it was happening live. I had it like as a 1/4 of one monitor, and I saw people
we're
freaking
working
out.
right
Wow.
now. What are you
We
doing?
are working.
You're watching VCT during chat. What is going
Watching
on?
is a
What
generous
is up
word.
with this, Joshi?
Watching is a generous word.
I don't know. We're gonna have to have some talks with production after this.
Right, I'm texting Emily right now.
Yeah, she's like, first cast with Kangas of the split. I'm so bored. I have to pull up VCT.
Second, we've been over this one too, Steve.
fire
Doesn't
match
match
though.
my narrative.
Fire match, don't ask me how I know. But hey, we had a fire match over here, though, as well. I mean, we got... I think that's looked a bit more like Scrim Forum CLG that we've been looking for, so...
Yes. I think we saw it, Joshi. I think we finally saw it.
I mean, it needs to come out towards playoffs, right? Regular season, seeding is helpful, but how you actually play in the tournament is what is going to be the most important thing. The fact that CLG are now taking down Cloud9 Challengers and asking that question despite being a middle-of-the-pack team throughout most of the season so far is the perfect time to do it. It's not about how you do in the regular season, and teams like CLG and FlyQuest Challengers coming up right at the time that they need to is a huge boon for them.
It's tough because it's weird to say middle of the pack team when they were 16-10 coming in, but that's the middle of the pack. Like we are the top half of the league, like 50% up, is all well above 50-50 win record because the bottom of the league has been giving up a lot of games. So they need to differentiate themselves from the rest of the middle of the pack, even though they have a pretty solid record. A second win against Cloud9 would be huge here for CLG in a weekend where they were kind of expected to 2-2.
True.
Well, for our halftime segment, as we're letting the players get ready and geared up for the next game, we're going to do a classic of our hot takes. I collected hot takes from all of our casters, and we're just going to sit here. We're going to laugh at them. We're going to rate them. It's a chance for you to poke fun at your co-casters while not getting in trouble for it live on air. And it's always fun, too, to see in a couple
I'm the
weeks.
one that they make fun of.
I know, right? It work out. And it's nice, too, because then we can go back to the hot takes in a couple weeks, see what aged, see what didn't age. You know, it's a good time overall.
Have we ever done that, Sierra? Be honest. Have we ever actually gone back and, like, returned to a previous hot take to see if it worked?
Well, it's actually funny because that's exactly what we're doing during playoffs. So,
let's go.
Spoiler alert.
So you can make fun of me when Dignitas win the split, then, and then you know, clearly my original hot take didn't work out.
I am not going to make fun of you with this first hot take. Considering what we just got to see, because our very first one that we have in our hot take book is from
it's mine.
Actually, you. CLGC will win more games in playoffs than Cloud9. Honestly, with how they just played, like, I feel like this is kind of spicy if we're getting the CLG that we've gotten to see up to week 6. But, like, if it's going to be the CLG that's kind of, like, the one that everyone talks about, the one that we just got to see just have such a strong game over Cloud9, like, this could age really nicely.
This one could go really well. And the reason why I'm kind of thinking about it a lot is if you're Cloud9 and you are the number 1 or the number 2 seed going into the tournament and you just win your way directly to finals, you don't actually win that many games on your way.
Reasoning.
Also,
Because of the middle of the pack, I was like, CLG have a much higher chance of dropping immediately to lower
you have
bracket.
to play twice as many games.
Then running the lower bracket, and they're gonna play more games. They're gonna win more games. Cloud9 just wins out, and then they make it to finals with like way less games played. So that was actually the reason why I went with this initially. But now if CLG win, this could actually make this less likely.
See, here I'm just like hyped up about like, yo, okay, we're seeing a couple of really good things.
No,
from
Joshi knew.
This is like favorite
Joshi
team.
knew.
All right, so
It's
you're
like-
literally
it's-
just
you know,
a
it's like
cheater.
medium spice.
That's all right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
We're
it
gonna-
takes some of the heat away from it, but it's still.
All right, we're moving on to the next one. That's lame. That's no fun whatsoever. Next hot take from Cubby. How to beat either of these teams is through jungle. Joshi, I know this is one
that is
you'll
way
agree
better
with.
than the take you told me about earlier.
Yeah, we swapped a couple.
You got a hint for one of the takes? What is this? I didn't get any hints.
Cubby's first take.
That's because you were dancing and distracting our producer.
That's true.
Oh, is that when I was playing
Cubby's
Cotton Eye Joe?
first take- y'all. I'm trying to say why.
Sorry,
Save the dancing for after. Cubby's first hot take was like top 4 matchup preview, and I said it was too boring. That this is hot takes. He wasn't allowed to air it, so that's why we got a different one, Joshi. So this is the one we have now. Kangas, now you can dance if you want to. You do.
Okay, so let's dance while we talk about this. How to beat either of these teams is through jungle. Is that a hot take? I don't know if that's a hot take.
It's not that hot. I definitely
not a good dancer.
That's okay. You got that white boy energy. The one thing that we do have to kind of look at, though, is my hot take was actually very similar to this, but probably less nice. The way that I was thinking about wording it is I definitely feel like both of these junglers look way better because their lanes are crushing almost everybody else, right? Their lanes have been so good, and it means that Kevy and Tomio aren't being tested as hard as a lot of the other junglers in the league. I feel like both these guys are currently like middle of the pack-ish. I'm on the top half of middle of the pack, but for teams that have really strong junglers, this is how you can beat them if you can shut them out of the game and then play a 5v4.
I just don't know if that's enough. Like,
it's still hard.
It still feels like, for the same reason, the laners are so good on each of these teams that might not be enough to even get the victory that way. So that's why I don't know if it's like a hot take. I don't know. I'm kind of middle on it.
All right, our next one, there was a couple takes from Joshi that was like, you know what, maybe this isn't going to be great for air.
It took a while for me to figure it out. I don't remember what I even said.
That's dangerous for Joshi.
There was a couple that were a little, might get Joshi in trouble. So this is where we landed. Summer 2022 Breezy could beat Spring 2023 Hazel.
Ooh, interesting take. Okay, because when I think to Breezy, yes, he was definitely peaking in summer, but I actually think that he impressed me more in spring when he was playing with Dokla. If you remember when
2022.
He just never existed in lane and he was just always on the map doing stuff. That was my favorite version of Breezy. And I don't know if you opened it up to say all of 2022 Breezy, I'm not remembering as much of just like specific summer. So you got to defend yourself here, Josh.
Yeah, the thing is that in summer 2022, Breezy was perhaps the best engaged support in the league, right? He had really figured out a lot of his opportunities in order to try and be very aggressive on the map. And it gave CLG these really big windows with which to win team fights in ways that, yeah, he was very proactive early on in the game in spring, but when he really started winning the games on his own was definitely in summer.
Okay.
All right, well, the next one that we got going on.
Hazel's pretty good, though.
Hazel's pretty good.
We're going to keep along the track of good players for this one as our take from Mad Magical. Very tame considering Mad Magical, all things considered.
Hot.
is the
This
best
is a
player
hot
on
take.
Cloud9 Challengers. I mean, yeah, hot, but I was expecting something a little more outfield for Magical.
I think
that's fair.
Fate God is the third best player on Cloud9, and
Okay.
arguably one of the top 3 top laners in the league. So, like, saying that Fate God is the third best is just a testament to how good I think Lost and Zeyzal are.
Yeah.
Like, I think either one of them could play LCS today and look good.
I think I gotta echo Josh's sentiment there. I think that I still believe I actually have Zeyzal as the best player on the team, then Lost, and then I would maybe say Fate God. Oh, the Diplex is still playing pretty well. So on this current
I need more tape
iteration-
on Diplex to have like a stronger opinion on him, right? Now that he's here in the Challengers League and not in LCS, the bars change a bit.
Yeah,
All right.
true.
Well, we're going to keep moving on because we don't have much time, and I want to make sure we can get through all of them. Because our next one, here is where we get in a little tea, all right? The whole CLG Scrim God thing is so fake from
What does that
Beatdown
mean?
Boulevard. So the context being that, sure, players are saying if CLG plays like they play on stage in scrims, that it'll be amazing, but we weren't really necessarily seeing that result. Also, if you're Guma stomping scrims, that doesn't actually really matter or count for anything, so...
I think Beatdown just, he's a hater, you know? He hates CLG. He thinks that CLG is big stinky. And that this is just more proof of that. Completely biased caster.
Yeah. I mean, I need to get more context of what he means by fake, right? Like,
Sure.
does he think that other teams are lying about it? Does he think that, you know,
It's a
being good in scrims just like doesn't matter? And so
it's
like
more so
saying that
doesn't
good
matter,
scrims.
is from my understanding.
I mean, I can see that, but I think the other easy contrast is you look at G2, who just won the spring thing over in the LEC. They were also reported as
winter.
like
It was their winter split.
You know what it is. They just won the thing. They 3-0'd finals. They were also reported as by far the strongest team to scrim against. And I feel like CLG has really had trouble playing the same way on stage as they did in scrims.
Well, our last one. This is a really good one. Diplex is about to dunk on Copy so hard that Josh will concede and shave early. This is from Deserex.
So just so you're aware, I cannot shave before Wednesday.
Why?
What's Wednesday?
I'm doing a photo shoot with Mark.
Oh, well, no. Just have the clean shave for the photo shoot. Come on.
I can't do that and still look like a certain Marvel character.
Oh, is that? Oh, okay. Good point.
You can draw like a mustache and everything on. Like,
no.
You
Just the Sharpie.
can do that.
No.
Maybe not Sharpie.
Take a photo of your like just your whole like face, and then we'll Photoshop like a PNG of just the jaw, and then we'll just put that on photos when you're shaving.
They also
terrifying.
do sell like fake, facial
Yeah,
hair,
that defeats the
so-
point.
I don't know. If you lose the bet, you lose the bet, right?
Also, Desert,
So-
this is just incorrect. This is the worst take ever. That did not happen in Game 1, and it probably won't happen Game 2. So.
Well, we'll see what's going to happen in Game 2 as our draft is ready. And we'll have to see if this could be a 1-1 or if CLG is just going to continue to dunk on them. Let's go.
Thank you, Sierra. Yeah, Desert, that was a really, really bad thing.
Yeah, well, continuing on the hype train of being CLG fans today, like, you don't really need to pretend. I am a CLG fan because I am hoping for Cloud9 to not get first at the end of the regular split, but we can't deny how good Cloud9 is. I feel like they really only got punished early on in the game and set themselves on the back foot for that fake back from Lost and Zazel. And if CLG don't get those 2 kills there, I feel like Cloud9's game plan really starts to work out. But just because they waited long enough to get that punish down and put Meech and Breezy super far ahead, that really was the thing that kind of broke the camel's back.
And I almost wonder if there's other circumstances going on in the Cloud9 camp right now, because I do say Lost had an uncharacteristically bad game. He has been playing incredibly well, and in that game there are 2 key moments where I felt like this isn't the Lost that we've been seeing so far. One was in that play. He's walking forward when they still see Kevy walk up and then back through the tri-bush. The reaction time felt really late, and then also the reaction time when Breezy gets the re-engage after the Baron fiasco, and he doesn't use the ultimate in time and gets picked off. Those are 2 moments where it's like, I feel like Lost is usually on those types of things, so we'll see if he can pick it up here.
Yeah, and as we start taking a look at this draft coming through, they are giving him a lot more tools with which to be a powerful carry on the Zeri.
Yep.
You still have the Lulu in your back pocket. This is a very aggressive early lane, but going into Zyra Khan, it is all about whether or not Breezy is going to be landing these grand entrances and actually finding the engages, or if they just get poked out. And so, going back a little bit, not quite what we were seeing at the beginning of the season on 13-1 because Zyra Khan hadn't come into the meta yet, but it is definitely very standard stuff coming through. The only real change that we've kind of seen is it has been the Aurelion Soul being banned out by CLG Challengers, and a little surprisingly, no Annie either from either team.
Yeah, true. Maybe it'll come up later in picks or bans. I will say, not a big fan of the Vi into the Zeri Lulu when you already see those 2 locked in, especially if you're going for the Zaya Rakan. Personally, I've seen too many Vi's go in and just immediately get polymorphed, get knocked up, just blown up at that point. Like, these are not the tools to kill the Zeri plus the Lulu, and I don't think they're the tools to deny what Zeri and Lulu want to do either. So I'm actually really liking Cloud9's draft so far.
Yeah, we said that last game too, and so we'll see
True.
whether or not Cloud9 can kind of build enough damage to actually one-shot both of these guys as they dive in, because it is going to be on Kevy and Breezy to dive together in these upcoming fights. And Breezy can definitely catch up, but as you kind of called out, there's a lot of things in the way, right? You got to deal with the polymorph, the wild growth is going to be coming out, Wukong will have like 2 cyclones trying to prevent people from actually getting in towards the back line. Cloud9 have a lot of tools left still to pick, and they need to pick something that can create a little bit more of a front line, and they're going to need some magic damage as well on this team. Well, Zeri does pretty like mixed damage. They might not need as much magic damage as I initially thought.
Yeah, I think you still want something, though, in case Jenkins pulls out a tank.
True.
So far,
He
no
played
tanks.
Sion last game.
And Sion's up. The Cho'Gath is up. I think CLG could just... Okay, they banned the Gwen. So I think that they're assuming that Cloud9 will lock in Fake God's blind pick here. Maybe CLG could then go for the Scion. Otherwise, if Cloud9 get the Scion, they have the Cho'Gath. I actually kind of like where CLG's at in terms of the top draft right now. Okay, and that is the Scion for Fake God.
That's probably a Cho'Gath like right away coming through from CLG, right? This matchup is just so good. And if you just nom onto Zeri, like that's 1,000 damage, just like gone from the AD carry's HP pool. So
and it's good follow-up engage. If Kevy goes in, knocks up Lost, then the Rupture is able to follow up very easily.
Yeah. There's a lot of potential crowd control chaining coming through. I'm also led to believe that this Kai'Sa that Breezy hovers every single time has a lot to do with it. It's his girlfriend's favorite champion.
Oh, I love it when players do that, man. Every single, like, I guess maybe not every single one. I know XU does it with Katarina. Does Bradley do it? We got to talk to Bradley about that.
Know,
you got to step up your boyfriend game now.
We'll see what they can actually do there. Mir was also, if anybody's interested, Mir has been looking for a girlfriend, so on the hunt, anybody interested.
You just headshot him like that?
I'm doing the dude a favor. Like, he's single and ready to mingle.
We will accept applications to the NACL Twitter at @PathLCS.
Hashtag NACL. Make sure you send it that way.
Yep. Just at us, and then we'll sort through the applicants. We'll try and get like a dating show from here at some point. That's content.
I'd have a lot of fun with that. But getting back in, the last pick coming through is going to be the Swain coming through for Diplex. And suddenly, there's a lot of what I like to call danger circles that are being built up by Cloud9. You got the double Cyclone going through. You got the big Swain ult that you're going to have to be fighting through with the Raleigh. And so from Cloud9, they definitely have a very just kind of death ball-y composition, whereas CLG, they're going to have to be trying to pick away at individual members of this. And the big thing about going up against death balls is if any part of the death ball kind of falls off and just gets picked off before the fight starts, the death ball is multiplicatively smaller than it would be on its own. So CLG need to be very careful with how they're going to be using a lot of their crowd control, and I feel like Jenkins, the use of his feast is going to be incredibly important in this upcoming fight.
You can actually blow up the Swains quite quickly while they're trying to create space and be a pseudo front line, but that's up to performance from CLG Challengers. Can they execute in game number 2? They're up in the series. Another win here would put them past Team Liquid and Wildcard, who split their series, in a fantastic spot to close out the regular season on a high note here. Get a much better seeding going into the playoffs picture.
So we'll see what kind of performance CLG has. Will they be able to pull it off? Will they have performance anxiety as they start getting ready? They had a great game 1 going into Cloud9. We got to see, again, the scrim version of CLG that was promised. And now I think, again, we look towards Fake God. We look towards the fact that he played the Olaf last game, didn't really get off the bat, and now Jenkins is playing the best matchup into the Scion as somebody that has already been described by other players as one of the most suffocating laners to actually play against. I'm really going to be looking at Jenkins to shut down Fake God, and with the amount of attention Kevy put on the bottom side of the map, potentially also locking down Lost and Zeyzal.
I love that you bring that up about Jenkins, because other players have mentioned that. We're in the developmental league. We have seen Jenkins, and also Fake God to that extent, play in the LCS and not have necessarily the same effect. But when you have a unique style of play of how you approach the laning phase into the team fights, you know, sometimes the other more experienced top laners at the professional scene will be able to adapt better. Now it's going to be on Fake God. How well can you handle the pressure of Jenkins?
We'll get to see, right, because both the junglers are currently chilling towards the top side of the map, potentially going to have to reverse their paths coming up fairly soon, but I actually wonder if Tomio goes aggressive. Breezy! A
lot of damage on Breezy early here. Very rare for a Xayah Rakan to actually lose a level 1 2v2.
Yeah, Lost does have to use the barrier, and we see a lot of defensive summoner spells used on both sides, but that's a lot of sustain already taken out from the Xayah Rakan lane. And this is a little bit closer, right? You said last game looked a bit uncharacteristic. This is more of what Lost and Zeyzal tend to do. They are very, very aggressive, and we've said this a lot. Zeyzal has said that he has never played with more aggressive AD carry than with Lost.
Hit level 2 first. They don't get much for it. Meech and Breezy will just back off and catch the wave under turret. And now Kevy, pathing from top side to bot, will be a little bit behind Tomio and getting to the bottom half. Tomio slightly ahead in the clear speed, but they should be able to match up probably around this bottom scuttle. Copy even gets a ward down here to kind of sniff out if Tomio goes for it.
I don't know if Tommy would go for it, though. That's the big thing, right? It is a very difficult game to try and go for. Meech and Breezy still very safe in his bottom lane. But I am a little bit surprised at how effectively FakeGod has been farming thus far. Not down more than a wave as we start to get some of these crashes coming through. Jenkins not able to really bully them there. It's kind of been interesting. We've had a small conversation a little bit about a lot of the sophomores that have kind of struggled coming into this year, whereas it has been so many of these veterans like FakeGod, like Jenkins, who have really started to shine going into 2023. They've just been all top of the table players.
And honestly, I think that's kind of a trend that we've seen. Oftentimes, players in their sophomore season can struggle more as Breezy goes in for an engage onto Zazel. No flash is used on either side, but still, nice look there. But anyway, back to the point, a lot of times we'll have rookies that really impress us. We're very excited for their second year, and with expectations higher, it's hard to meet those expectations. And I think it's quite common, actually, for players in their second year in the league to actually, you know, not fully live up to the precedent that they set for themselves.
We'll see how these two veteran top laners do actually perform. It is worth noting that Jenkins is now at the point of the lane where he just has so much better mana sustain than FakeGod does. But Kevy just out of vision from either Tomio and Diplex.
And Kevy now sees, hey, it just smites away the big raptor. Another engage here from Breezy, knocks up Lost, flash away. Nicely done from the Rakan player.
So far, it feels like a whole lot of nothing coming out from both these teams.
Hey, that's a flash. That's something.
That's a flash.
And now another invade from Kevy. I know there haven't been kills, but there has been a couple of key moments here. As now Tomio pushed off of another camp, avoids the rupture. FakeGod's walking up, low on mana, so is Jenkins. So Kevy will walk away, does not want to commit to the steal. Okay, now as I say it, he does double back. Tomio sees him. They also see Jenkins. So Jenkins is pulled away from the wave just to cover Kevy here.
Yeah. So as we kind of see that this early game kind of goes neutral overall. I mean, Kevy getting small advantages by taking away some of his opponent's camps. Will be able to go pick up his own camps. One of the big things that we're going to be looking at is how well Cloud9 will bridge for Lost, right? Making sure that Lost actually gets to play the later stages of the game effectively, whereas CLG, like, they have these really big spikes, right? When Copy actually finishes both the Roa and the Seraph's Embrace, when those come online, when he hits level 16, when Meech is on the second item that they actually complete, they just do so much more damage than Cloud9 for that period of time that they really kind of have to wait for Diplex to get that level 11, get the second item completed, so that they can really stop CLG from maneuvering around a lot of these fights. And it feels as though if Lost can get through a couple of fights unscathed, pick up a couple of kills in the mid game, it kind of doesn't matter if the rest of CLG get some small advantages through the Dragons, through the Rift Heralds, as long as Lost isn't falling behind.
It really does feel like Lost is the primary win condition for Cloud9, and Copy, big win condition for CLG, because you talk about the two-item spike. As the rise continues into the game, I don't see many champions on Cloud9's side that can like fully stop a rise in a side lane. Maybe you can try and stop it, but you're definitely not going to out-duel him or beat him in the side lane. So CLG, I think, have a couple more options where they could go for the fights if they want to fight the death ball, or they can try and split that death ball apart like you were talking about earlier and say, hey, you're going to have to answer us one way or another. Sometimes that can trip up your opponent and give you an opportunity to attack.
And in game one, kind of looking at how Copy was playing on the Zoe as well, right? We were kind of setting up his Copy versus his old organization. None of the returning members, but the old organization, and he did a really good job of creating pressure on the map, creating pressure in these drawn-out poke and siege situations, but wasn't really getting a whole lot of kills throughout most of the game. I feel like Copy is definitely a player that, when paired up with Jenkins, they do a lot of really cool control of the battlefield, the way that they actually go for flanks. And with just like the nature of the way that Rise plays, you tend to get a lot more kills than a lot of Zoe games. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Copy actually takes control of some of these side lanes, takes control of some of these flanks, and uses the fact that Cloud9's engage is only okay to really take control of the game.
Breezy still looking for these aggressive trades on the Cloud9's bot lane as they finally get the wave shoved in. Haven't seen any focus on the Dragon so far in this game. Want to highlight that. The fact that bot lane's been shoved each direction. They've taken turns with that, but neither jungler has necessarily been looking for the Dragon as the Herald has come up. So now we could see either a trade or we could just see one prioritized over the other. Right now, Kevy starting up the Herald.
Tommy is also in the wings. Copy has priority in the mid lane to move first. This is a team fight where if Diplex can participate, will be tough for CLG to really take, but Cloud9 not looking to start it up. They don't have information in time, and by this point, they're just going to have to back away. It's like, oh, that's not ours. Oh, here comes...
ulting down. Fake God's looking for the engage, and the flash from Kevy to get away, as well as get the Herald. Copy should be traded for this. Had no flash. Used it earlier, still falls down. Now Kevy in the thick of it. CLG Challengers got baited in to try and save their mid laner. They will lose 2 members for that Herald.
Wow, Cloud9, just as I was saying, they wouldn't be able to come over it. Fake God instantly ults down towards the bottom side of the map, or bottom side of the river anyway. And suddenly CLG, they find themselves in a really awkward situation. Yes, they get the Rift Herald, but they trade back about the same amount of gold, and this time it's all focused here onto Tomio. Yeah, Fake God.
I mean, Copy here.
I mean, as he jumps in, he has to flash out at the never move. And so once that happens, Fake God just goes like, oh, hey, that guy has no flash. I have a guaranteed knockup, more guaranteed damage. And as you called out, Kevy just baited in. That guy was dead. Just got to get out of there. That's what happens when somebody doesn't call off a play. You end up giving over more kills than you sometimes have to.
But CLG are right back on the map and actually get to the Dragon first, so they claim the Herald. Yeah, they lose some gold from the 2 kills, but they also get the first Dragon of the game. So Cloud9 actually, maybe they could have used that to get the Dragon. Either way, CLG continues stacking up the objectives.
So CLG have done a really good job, right? When your lanes have a ton of priority, this is oftentimes what happens, and why we have been praising Kevy so much for being good at taking a lot of these neutral objectives. When your lanes have priority, it is very natural they can move to you, and Kevy's been very proactive about that as well. Whereas on the other side, it's not common that we see Cloud9's lanes equal or losing. I feel like this is something that CLG is kind of uniquely positioned to do in the league, right? There's not a lot of teams that have all lanes able to stand up to Cloud9.
And even though CLG's biggest lane is just the tank, which isn't going to get much accomplished, right? You know, Cho'Gath versus Sion, it feels good to be up this, 13 CS, 2 full waves. But at the end of the day, you still want to get towards that fight. If you can get Cho'Gath into just one shot lost here, follow up on the engage of Kevy and Breezy, that's where CLG's composition can start to come online. They haven't had to go for a team fight full on full yet, as they've just been still kind of utilizing this early game. We got 3 minutes for the plates, and Herald is still in the pocket of Kevy. That's where my eyes go next, as to where Kevy wants to put that gold.
Historically, it's been very focused on taking down the mid lane, right? Just getting the plates, trying to take that down so you can come back and pick it up later. But one of the things that has been an unfortunate trend with Kevy and the rest of CLG is they forget that they have the Herald, right? This team, more than any other team, just kind of drops. It's like, oh, the timer's running out. We didn't do anything with it. And we've seen that happen quite a bit, as we will need to see that change a little bit from the rest of CLG. He is chilling on the top half of the map, and you could give that money over to Jenkins, make this tank impossible to deal with, or you could give it over to Copy as well.
I vote Copy. I think getting gold on the rise feels fantastic. You can get to that Roa quicker, and the quicker you get to the Roa, the faster that'll stack. Ooh, Breezy is really fishing for these. He's that's like 3 in a row now. That lost is just barely dodged out on and then punished.
Yeah, Antonio now coming in towards the bottom side of the map as well. All right, we are getting very close to Kevy hitting the purple flash. That's like, hey, dude, use the Rift Herald.
Oh no. He's not going mid. He's going bot. Okay, so maybe the play is Herald bot, though. Oh, Diplex will spot out Breezy and Meech. Tomio's committing to it. Lost throws out the ultimate. Kevy's nearby. Drop the Herald down early as Meech has to take to the skies. Low health bars from CLG's bot laners. I think that Herald's just going to die in its place. So yeah, CLG not succeeding with the Herald usage.
Yeah. unfortunately, this has been a trend for CLG Challengers. They are probably the worst at actually using the Herald effectively once they get it. They're pretty good at getting it, but oftentimes they will just kind of forget to do anything with it. And that's a perfect example of it, as it was Cloud9, that were able to get some big summoner spells and some big cooldowns out of their opponents, and Tomio's here.
Yeah, very low mana on Breezy, but gets out just in time, and Tomio, without the Whirling Cyclone, cannot get on top of him or lock him down. We'll just be able to reset, get back.
I want some fighting, Steve. I want some like real fighting. I want people to die.
I mean, we've seen action. Does that count?
No.
Okay. All right. Well,
We've had 2 deaths up in the top side. You know, one of them needed to happen. The other one probably didn't. I want to see these teams start lining up, and hopefully this team fight timer, minute 20 left on the clock, will be the impetus that both these teams actually need. Before we get there, I do want to give a quick bit of praise to Fate God based on the fact that they are only down about 2 waves going into Jenkins Cho'Gath. This matchup is really, really tough, and the fact that Fate God is doing as well as they have, and also getting a ton of effective extra gold based on the fact that Sion gets gold from health every single time you kill a minion, actually means that he's pretty close to even.
Yeah, it basically you get gold from it because your passive is stacking up. You're getting tankier as you CS. Game stays so even. You look at the gold right now. The biggest differential is 500 in the jungle. But then you look at the overall teams, it's only 300 in total over to Cloud9. This game number 2, is on a knife's edge. One big play could explode it in either team's direction. I think that's part of why they're playing so safe, so slowly here, as Jenkins will shove in another wave topside. Close to taking this turret. It's still a little early to go for it solo as a Cho'Gath, so won't be able to clear it. But the dragon fight is set up right now. This is where the next action will happen.
So we're expecting, but look at where Lost is relative to Breezy and Meech, right? Trying to pick up some side farm, some solo EXP. But CLG don't look interested in fighting for the dragon, saying that's not our win condition. Instead, going to be picking up another Rift Herald. And remember what happened to the last one.
Okay, Kevy, this is the thing. Pick it up, use it.
Use it.
That's gameplay.
At least it was placed. We have definitely seen games where jugglers just don't place it, and it just disappears because they're dead at the time. But CLG have been better at using the second Rift Heralds than they have the first ones, at the very least. So that has been something where we can kind of look to see what they actually do. CLG, they should be able to pick this up. Watch Jenkins demolish, just go, wow.
Wow. Wow. Got it. And Fate God even knew that was coming, so just goes back, takes the Krugs, denies that from CLG, and we'll catch this wave here. The Dragon was picked up by Cloud9 during that entire set of plays, so even though the gold has swung slightly in CLG's favor, Cloud9 are staying in it by trading those objectives. Copy now on the Krugs here. Tomio's sniffing to see if he can get something.
Yeah.
Oh, he's looking for the red buff? No, he won't commit.
No. Tomio caught out.
He was all alone. Breezy finds him isolated from the rest of the team. That's wild growth from Zeyzal. That's flash out from Tomio. Teleport is used by Jenkins to get into the fight, but Cloud9 definitely not wanting that play.
That was a lot of commitment to try and pick up that kill onto Tomio. They don't even get him. They only get the flash and the heal out of Zeyzal. So CLG, I mean, committing quite a bit in order to try and find that pick. That was Kevy's flash, that was Copy's flash and ultimate. And the teleport coming out from Jenkins. Definitely small win coming out for Cloud9. But something that I've heard Zeyzal, Azael talk about a little bit is the fact that this Rift, this Chemtech Rift, is so hard to control vision on, so hard to create situations where you have more information from your opponent because of the number of the Scryer's blooms that'll pop up and the fact that they basically allow you to one-shot all the wards on the map. And so suddenly, as we take that into consideration, we have to really start thinking about who has better pick tools, and it's definitely CLG.
It's much harder to set up death brushes. It's harder to keep your vision down. So the pick tools, I still think it goes back to the side lane pushing too, because it factors both ways. It's hard for the opponents to get deep wards in your side of the jungle because the Scryer's Blooms even get that AoE around them, so you can kind of see anywhere that they place wards nearby where they spawn. That gives a lot more control for CLG to let Copy push a side lane. They still have the Herald. I still love the idea of dropping it wherever Copy is. So Kevy, I see the Rise bot lane, but looks like CLG are setting up to play mid.
Yeah, they still have the Rift Herald around if they do want to drop it. Be a little bit early relative to the other dragon, but the timer on the Rift Herald will not allow it to get towards the actual upcoming dragon. And so, everybody from CLG just going to be disengaging, and we continue to see these waves pushed back and forth against each other. Both teams feel... My guess is that both teams have the read that they will do better in the late game, which is part of why we haven't been seeing a whole lot of action from either side.
Speaking of action, though, Tomio and Kevy spotting each other out. Kevy double knocked up, just trades it right back onto Tomio. Wild Growth
lost
onslaught from Fake God, catches Kevy, rather. It's lost, the picks up the kill. Diplex chasing down Copy with the Rylai slows. Copy phase rush to run away, but still slowed by everybody and cleaned up. Cloud9 Challengers finally find their fight.
And CLG just a little bit slow to actually go for the fight. That was cheeky, Lost. You see that stutter step in order to get outside of the rupture?
Yeah.
That was cheeky. But, I mean, Cloud9, they are just better able to take that fight. Tomio is way tankier. Everybody talks about how as soon as Wukong gets onto the Divine Thunder, it feels impossible to actually take this champion down. They find a bunch of gold for themselves. They kill Copy again. And remember what we were saying, if Lost just gets more money during a lot of these fights, then it's going to be really hard for CLG to kind of deal with that. Kevy just a little bit too far forward, kind of gets caught. And as Lost comes in, just gets enough damage left over and Copy. Still being punished for trying to pick off Tomio in the first place in the previous play.
Yeah, he's trying to run away, and there's just too many CC tools to chase him down. So Cloud9 Challengers feel good about the gold injection they get. CLG is going to charge this time. Okay, they got it down. Yeah, it'll make this charge. So it's not present for the mid-outer kill, but it will chunk the mid-tier 2.
Yeah, definitely something that I think CLG needs to work on. It's one of the weakest parts of the game is effectively using this Rift Herald. I said that the second one tend to be better, and it was better. Yeah. They got a charge off.
Better.
They're not great. But now we start looking towards the upcoming Dragon, Steve. 20 seconds left on that one. And we look across at what items have been completed. The important ones are starting to get completed for Cloud9 faster than for CLG. Crucially, Copy still not even on the Archangel staff. Doesn't have that completed item and doesn't have the extra shield that goes along with it.
Just the Rod of Ages for right now.
Whoa.
Used by Jenkins.
So
has to flash immediately. Even though you're tanky, you don't want to just give free damage over, I suppose. But now flash down on Cho'Gath makes that flash consume a little less scary for Cloud9 to worry about.
And if you can't do any of that damage to Lost, there's going to be moving out somewhere else on the map, taking a couple of camps away, but this is also a little bit scary, right? Cloud9 do have enough tools if they just charge Fake God at you to look for these opportunities. Will not get the wave underneath the turret effectively, but you can get some good damage up here on the top lane turret, unless Fake God is willing to teleport in order to make sure this doesn't happen. But they don't even have a wave there.
Pretty smart, though, from CLG to identify, yeah, they have the setup. We don't want to go for the fight right now. So let's just take out their entire top jungle camps, push in a wave mid, push in a wave top. They still get a little bit more gold for themselves on the play. C9 get their second dragon of the game. But CLG Challengers are not putting themselves in a difficult fight position for that. So very slow-paced game still, Josh. I know you said you wanted fights. You wanted action.
I want fights. I want kills.
I don't know if they're going to deliver.
Yeah, it just feels as though, again, both teams are waiting for the other to do something. CLG has gone for a couple of attempts on catching out Tomio, but there's just enough tools left over for Cloud9 to get away from them. And as we start looking towards like the standings as well between these two teams, at the beginning of the day, CLG were in 8th behind Team Liquid and Wildcard. Despite having the same record, they had done it with more ties and fewer series wins. So they do put themselves up. They're currently tied in wins with 100 Thieves Challengers and Cincinnati Fear. And if you can get out of that middle clump, right, you really want to try and avoid teams like Immortals, TSM, and FlyQuest Challengers, and even Evil Geniuses Challengers towards the bottom side of the standings. And I feel like CLG, by picking up that first win, will really give themselves more opportunities to do well in the upcoming playoffs. And I think there was a conversation we were having last week about what teams were title contenders. And I feel like CLG were not really in that conversation for most of this split just because of how they were playing stage games. But picking up a win over Cloud9, and even now, despite the fact that they are down 4 kills, being up in gold, starts to ask the question again.
Exactly. This is a team that we knew had a large upside. We just hadn't seen it consistently in their stage games. And even in this game 2, though it's been a slower one, they still have a game state where they could take this win. This does not feel like either team has a ridiculous advantage over the other. Both of them seem content to scale. It can just come down to execution. Like, Lost on the Zeri with the Lulu behind you is terrifying in a late game, don't get me wrong. But you also have to worry about the potential side lane push of a Ryze. Cloud9 will have to worry about that when the time comes. Tomio for the engage, jumps right in onto the AD carry. Meech takes to the skies, and they just shut down Tomio. Too far forward, Zeyzal falls as well. CLG Challengers just found a massive play off of Cloud9 engaging onto them. Realm Warp in, locking down Diplex. He's got the ultimate, but he cannot drain tank enough. And now the AD carry's in trouble. He's silenced. Lost goes over the wall. Hey! All the way over there, but Flash from Copy will catch him. Flash response from Lost. Oh! Copy barely doesn't have the range, but Lost cannot approach this Baron. This belongs to CLG.
Yeah, they're going to be giving over another piece stack to Jenkins, and it feels that every team that has tried to make a play so far this game has had it shut down in their faces. Baron goes over to CLG this time. And remember how quickly Cloud9 was able to get the first Baron last game. This time CLG grabs it relatively early on. But neither time, or no times that Kevy or Tomio have gone aggressive with their plays have they actually been successful with it. And this is definitely a spot where look at how spread out the members of Cloud9 are. This is not a team fight that they can actually make happen.
That teleport from Copy was so good, by the way. The timing of it meant that Lost didn't want to walk forward, because while Tomio's engaging, if Lost walks forward and starts autoing, well, now there's a Ryze that's going to TP on top of you, and you're going to be right next to a Ryze. So Lost is like, I can't walk up. And then Zeyzal's like, well, I can try and walk up, but then I can't keep Tomio alive long enough. So then the teleport lands right when Tomio dies. CLG have the champion advantage, capitalize, win the fight. Good stuff from Copy and team.
Really starting to take a bit more revenge against his former organization as we start looking. Tomio, oh, they go for him.
Catch. Tomio a little caught out of position in his own jungle. Wild Growth used by his Zeyzal to keep him up. He goes back in because Diplex is behind him. Maybe Cloud9 can find something here. You gotta worry though, because Meech on the Xayah can shred them. Copy here can shred them. We have Jenkins in a 1v2 on the side. Diplex pops the ultimate, and a flash out from Meech. Very respectful of C9's potential to engage. I don't know if the flash was necessary. I think the Featherstorm got the message across, but either way, no one dies on either side.
And CLG, they're going to be lining up here with this cannon. It does disappear off the map, but there's another one coming right. Oh no, this wave doesn't seem to have one. They're going to try and get some damage down.
Get the turret though. Yeah, there's not a lot of wave clear between these three champs on Cloud9. Although Lost is allowed to walk up, so they're not hard pushing onto these turrets yet. Dragon just spawned. I think that's going to be where CLG put their focus.
Starting to give Jenkins more of these feast stacks, continuing to get them larger and larger. Very literally in this case. And Copy on the other hand.
Show. That doesn't increase your size with completed items, right?
I don't know. Anyway, here's the ult.
Oh, Breezy knocked up, and that is a good pick for Cloud9. Copy should be able to get away. Phase Rush, as well as the Realm Warp to safety, and he's out of there.
I mean, that is a good pick coming out from Cloud9. I mean, the Dragon stacking isn't a real threat just quite yet, but CLG, they don't get a whole lot with their Baron buff, right? I think they get most of the bottom lane turret. Did they get the bottom lane outer? No, they already had that.
I don't recall, actually, offhand, but they got control of the lanes, which got them Dragon. I think that's probably the biggest thing that the Baron has secured for them so far.
I'm so glad that Baron got a second Dragon.
Yes! Let's go! Would have been impossible without that buff.
Definitely, definitely very tough. But again, we're seeing that a lot of times people are going for proactive plays this game. It's just getting shut down. And crucially, CLG, they need to get a big lead while Meech was on 2 items and Lost was also on 2 items because of how much stronger Xayah tends to be at that point of the game. But now we're starting to get into 3 items territory for Lost. Copy's getting close as well. And so suddenly we're going to have to... Almost as the Rabadons. That's when Copy's really going to start shredding through a lot of these big frontliners. And they don't really have great ways to get on top of him as long as he's being proactive with his phase rush usage.
He needs about 400 gold before he can get that Rabadon. So let's see. He doesn't have another wave to take on the bot side.
Did you know that, or did you look it up?
Well, it's 1100 for the final piece, right? And he's currently at 700, so just did quick math.
Okay. All right, there you go.
Unless I'm wrong and it's not 1100. I'm not a mid laner. I'm a support. You think a support ever buys Rabadon stuff?
Alex is a support built Rabadons.
Well,
Alex would know.
Sure. Yes, but also that's Mad Magical, so kind of a different breed in a way.
Yeah. Anyway, we are still waiting for the next big opportunity. There is a variant spawning in 2 minutes, but until we actually get one of these next objectives to spawn, I think we're going to kind of be hanging out, which is really good for Lost in particular. This game definitely feels a bit better from Lost than Game 1 did, where it just felt like they were a little bit slow on a lot of their reaction time. But it doesn't feel as though Cloud9 have been able to build up some of those opportunities to be aggressive. And this is, I think, a big difference between Menace and Diplex, right? As one of the reasons why Cloud9 were willing to explore bringing Menace up to LCS and having Diplex play in the Challengers League is because Menace doesn't not do things, right? Sometimes they're wrong and it's disastrous, but he will constantly be trying to make plays, whereas Diplex is being a little bit more passive, waiting for things to happen, so he's not going to be making any disastrous moves in the same kind of way. But in these kind of situations, I feel like you need to be looking for more in order to make sure that Diplex himself is relevant during a lot of these team fights.
I will say I think Diplex's champ pool is not as strong at making things happen. He played Victor, now he's playing the Swain, not necessarily the Akalis or the Silases that Eminence was known for.
Blancs.
But still, the pick potential of a Swain is there, and we haven't really seen Diplex set up for a bunch of proactive plays on this. It's oftentimes he's just kind of walking in after a scrap has already started off to try and then control some space. But I do echo that sentiment. On the Swain in this game right now, you could look to shove a wave, try and just like walk into a brush, see if anybody from CLG comes by, look to be a little more proactive.
So I am happy that CLG is threatening to take another game off of Cloud9, but I think it's likely to come to a head around these upcoming objectives. If Cloud9 get a decisive teamfight win, either around this Baron or around this Dragon, that puts them in a position where it is super, super difficult for CLG to continue playing it out, and it shifts from Meech being the strongest member on the field to Copy potentially being the one that needs to do all the damage. He does have the Rabadons completed, so he does hurt, and he also wins the side lane, as you were talking about earlier, Steve.
He's just pushing that side lane. Everyone from Cloud9 is grouping up around the Baron. All 5 members here. CLG are toying around with them, keeping control over the mid push, and Copy will just get a free turret. I mean, you could look for another one, Copy. Yeah, I want you to stay. Yeah. You have the teleport.
They're asking for his teleport, and CLG, they don't need to fight. They just need to convince them to get off the Baron. Jenkins, flash, ult will do more damage than Smite.
Evi's here as well. Could look for the steal through that avenue. Jenkins taking a lot of damage. Polymorph down. That's the teleport coming in from Copy. Now Kevy goes into the stasis. They're trying to wait out Diplex's ultimate. A lot of damage from Meech. He's free firing in this fight. Kevy does go down. Cloud9 claim the jungler, but they have not damaged Meech. The Xayah can carry this. So can Lost. It's a battle of the 80 carries right now, but Cloud9 have one extra member to work with. They're even sending Diplex back. He has the teleport, so he can back, he can heal up, he can teleport back in, and they're just doing right that.
But Swain without an ultimate is hardly a champion. CLG, they still have the Feast available, but they have no flash. Jenkins got Warmogs going. He's back to full HP again.
Tomio's quite low. There was a little moment there where we saw the Cho'Gath execute. Fake God! Oh, it flashes away. The damage coming through from CLG. Copy's playing this so well. FaZe rushing in and out. Meech throwing out all that damage, but Jenkins is about to go down. He gets the Feast on the Diplex. But that's not the execute target that they wanted, but it does stop the Baron attempt from Cloud9.
Cloud9 just barely outfighting CLG in these crazy situations, but look at this with the tempo left on the map. CLG can go pick up this Dragon. And that looks to be the call. They're going to be moving through the mid lane. They're going to be picking up these waves. That's going to be potentially another turret in the mid lane going down, as well as another Dragon, putting them one away from Chemtech Soul.
Oh, can Lost save it? No, it goes down. Another turret falls. CLG Challengers. They use the teleport from Copy. They stop the Baron from Cloud9. They do lose a couple members for it, but not a bad series of plays.
Yeah, I really wonder what happens here, because there's a ton of damage. Is Copy taking turret shots? He must be, because he comes into the fight at half HP, has to flash out almost instantly.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that has to be what it is, because Copy is not supposed to be that low for this fight. He was at full HP. And that's a mistake that CLG are going to have to VOD review for sure.
Yeah, he almost took down the turret too. But of course, they did need him for this fight to stop the Baron take. Fake God barely lives. And at the end here, Jenkins does finally fall. He's so tanky. But eventually they do burn through him.
Yeah, just not enough damage left over. Can't stand up to Lost as the ultimate is going. And now it's CLG who's actually going to be starting up this Baron buff. Diplex is at half.
Teleport from Fake God. Unstoppable Onslaught's available. He can look for the engage for the team. Cloud9 are a little spread apart right now. Zeyzal's not with any of the carries. He's playing safe on the Lulu, walking all the way around. This gives CLG some room to work with. Pushing in the mid wave. They could just go right back to the Baron.
We'll see. Diplex still fairly strong. I believe Lost has to be on 3 items at this point. Both AD carries. Massive, massive problems for the opposing front line. In almost every frontline against frontline situation, Cho'Gath will win those.
Engaging onto Sion, a bold move. He actually ults away to get out of the fight rather than going back in to give space for Lost. So half the health bar of Sion plus the ultimate down. He sidesteps a rupture, still gets knocked up by the battle dance. CLG
Where's
playing
Copy?
around with the idea of just killing the enemy front line.
Yeah. Copy now going down to the bottom side of the map, has a teleport up again.
Another engage from Breezy. Each enabled here. That's Wild Growth down now. Those are 2 big ults from Cloud9.
CLG doing a great job.
Moves in. Doesn't have the follow-up though. Tomio, yeah, the team was not prepared for that engage. That's another ult down. Diplex's ult down. Cloud9, they just used all their cooldowns for nothing.
It's all about Lost in this fight then. As CLG start to hit the Baron, it is all about Lost. Diplex is only half a character.
Can Lost
Copy's still pushing the bottom lane.
pull out the miracle? He's walking up here. Baron's down to about half health. You're not going to steal it. That's a Cho'Gath that has the feast available. So C9 need to look for the fight instead. They just don't have the ultimates. Like, how are they going to get in here? Tomio's going to jump over the wall. My screen just froze, so I don't know who's getting the Baron.
They got it. CLG got it.
It's secured for CLG. And now Cloud9 are in retreat. Kevy's chasing down Diplex, lands the ultimate, and the follow-up engage is there. Diplex is down. CLG Challengers might have just done it with that play from 0 to 100 in this game. But now Lost is on top of Copy. Has to flash away. He's still alive. Lost has the ultimate. He's trying his best to carry in this fight. He's got a front line and he's got a Lulu. What can this Zeri do?
Let's see. There's not a whole lot left for them to do. They don't have Diplex. They don't have Tomio. That's another inhibitor turret going down. There's only 2 inhibitors. Huge victory coming out for CLG. And they've just been poking and prodding, and they're just playing these skirmish situations so well. They've played so much front to back effectively.
This is the end. This is CLG's final push right now. First Nexus turret goes down. Lost has Guardian Angel. Has to pop off here. The team goes in. Tomio looks for the engage and just gets blown up instantly. Fake God does not survive on the front line, and Lost now into the GA means that CLG have done it. Taking down the #1 team, not in 1 game, but does it in 2. A 2-0 to CLG, and a hell of a way to start off their final week. But Diplex actually gets a big shutdown, making them sweat. But CLG are inevitable, and they will take the game.
CLG getting a 2-0 against Cloud9. I don't think anybody was really expecting that one. Getting the 2 wins necessary to actually skyrocket themselves. They are not just ahead of Wildcard and Team Liquid. That puts them in the same number of wins as Golden Guardians Challengers. CLG has rocketed from 8th place to tied for 3rd. That is a crazy jump in the standings that comes off of just 2 games.
That's how close literally 9th through 1st is. Like, there's not a lot of game. I think there's a 5-game spread between 9th place and 1st place, something around there.
Yeah, it's 6.
6-game spread.
6 games. It's crazy.
It's crazy how quickly you can raise for performances like that. And CLG Challengers did it. Saving your beard, maybe. I mean, like, now, Dignitas, they have a fairly easy end of their split schedule with their final weekend. CLG will have to go up against Cincinnati Fear as their final opponent. Not an easy opponent. They are also up there in the standings, but they are poised to have a very solid end. I cannot wait to hear what their players have to say about it, because after this break, Sierra will be back with an interview of one of the victorious members of CLG after this.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Verizon post-match interview. I'm going to be sitting down and talking to Breezy after that fantastic 2-0 victory. First off, congratulations. That was the #1 team that CLG just took 2 really great wins off of. How are you feeling about that performance?
Thank you. Feels pretty good, but it's definitely a big confidence going into playoffs next week, so feels pretty good.
Especially too at this point, the one thing that really matters about the standings is seeding and stuff. And with that victory, you go from like 8th place to 3rd. Big changes to that. Did you expect this at 2-0? What are your thoughts on that in the standings?
Yeah, I mean, you come in every week pretty confident, and even if we just like go 1-1 on the week, it's pretty disappointing. So like, we definitely had like full confidence going into this game, and we knew there's a lot on the line, and I'm glad we could pull through. We just have to bounce back tomorrow and do the same thing.
Yeah, even a couple of weeks ago, you mentioned on Twitter about the team starting to scale fast, seeing a couple of good things. How are you feeling about that scaling that you've had over the last couple of weeks?
We're feeling really good. I mean, we kept like 4 out of the 5 same players as the last split, so like we had as last year, sorry. So we had like a pretty good like shell down, and then like going into the end of the year, we like improved a lot as a team. I don't know if it was like our Korea boot camps or Silky, I'm not sure what it was, but we improved a lot. So like coming in this bit, like we had like the fundamentals down, so now we were able to work on the really small things, and I think we're finally putting them like into action.
Awesome. And now with playoffs just around the corner, what are a couple of things that you're still focusing on as a team to make sure that you can be coming out on top?
Yeah, I mean, just translating, I guess, our practice into like stage results and playing the same way as we do on stage as in scrims, and just like keeping good comms, good environment, and just like having a good time.
I want to talk about those scrim results. So we've been hearing on broadcasts about CLG just being these absolute scrim gods. Like, if how you were playing in scrims all the time was the stage game, CLG would be unstoppable. Is there a reason that we haven't necessarily gotten to see too much of that before this week, or what's up with that? Is there truth to these claims?
There might be some truth behind that. I won't comment, but I think just like on stage, especially like last week and the week before, it felt like we were not playing how we were in scrims, like just making like silly mistakes, and just like communication was like too hectic. So like kind of just like it felt like nice being able to play the #1 team today and like play calm, play standard, and like just play how we do in scrims.
All right, and then I want to talk about your individual performance, because something Joshi was talking about earlier is that he thinks that 2022 Summer Breezy was the best Breezy that we've gotten to see so far. I wanted to know your own thoughts about your performance then versus your performance now.
Yeah, I think last split was definitely like the best split I've had like out of all my other years, and I think this split I'm playing even better because I kind of finally learned how to play League of Legends last year, and now I finally know how to play it a little bit better now, and like nice playing with like a group of guys that I like. But I think I'm able to like take a big jump in communication this year, and yeah, it's like I assume that Joshi doesn't count this split because it's not over yet, but yeah, it feels good to be playing well as a team and individually.
So a lot of good things to still expect from you and the rest of the team, huh?
Yeah.
I love that. Before I let you go, hang out with the team and chill out for the night, do you have any final words for anyone who might be watching?
Just stay tuned, and hopefully have good results for playoffs.
Thanks for chatting with me, Breezy. Have a good rest of your night, okay? Congratulations again.
Thank you. See ya.
Thank you. As for us, 2 series on the day, down and 1 left to go. It's going to be AoE facing off against FlyFam. But first, a short break. Get yourself a snack and be back soon.